Welcome back to my channel. Now the best bit about my job is when I get to do something like this. So I'm doing the cladding now. This is part of our little series about cladding, and we've got the thermowood, and if you see the previous video we processed it all. So that's mean we cut it all up. We took it from the pile at the front where the lorry could get it, took it through, we built ourselves a saw table, processed it all, cut it all to length, and now we're ready to start fixing it up. So I'm going to have a quick run through of how we're going to do that, the method we're going to use, and take it from there. So we will start with the centerpiece on this elevation because it's symmetrical, okay? And we want to end up with exactly the same amount of cladding either side. Obviously, we also want to end up with the same detail here as we are going to have here, and hopefully the same amount of cladding on each corner. So with any kind of cladding, you're pushing a tongue and a groove together in some cases like we've got here. And if you're not careful, you can over push it together, okay? And there's so many things that can go wrong. If, for example, you're doing this in the summer and it's super dry and you jam it all together, as soon as the autumn comes and the moisture in the air picks up, rain, it's gonna swell and it could buckle it out like a barrel, just pop it off the building. Or equally, if you put it up and it's really, really wet and you don't try to allow for the fact it's going to shrink, it can go wrong too. Thermowood, which is what we're using, has got a really low moisture content, and the way that it's sort of conditioned by going through its process, it actually stops a lot of moisture getting into it in the future. It really changes the molecular structure of the timber. Anyway, so we are going to start at the top here. We'll start with the center one, drill the light through, and we have a 15-degree cut on the bottom. That's so any water running down the face can drip off. If you cut it square, it's going to track back across. So you've got to have an angle on the bottom, and we want to get those nice and straight. We're also going to put our reveal section through the bottom, so we'll put that through first. So that's it. We've got all of our lovely timber here, all ready to go. All these different lengths. These are the bits we're going to be using first above the door, and this is this 15-degree cut that you can see on the bottom there. All right, and that obviously stops the rain from soaking back in. It's going to come down and it can't travel uphill, it's just going to drip off. Okay, let's do it. The very first part of this job is our reveals. These are the bits that we rip down during preparation and put a backing bevel on. And what Ed's doing is going around cutting all of the sides in so they get cut down over the sills. And I'm going to be putting the top ones through next. And these go literally up against here. I'm just going to hold it up roughly so you can see it. So these ones go through here first, all right? And now our cladding comes down and fixes over the top of there.
I have the side reveals cut, and to work with the sill they have an angle cut on them, and I'll just walk you through how I got that angle and that marked up. So you see the bottom here, this is where our reveal runs into, and it meets the bottom of the sill here. So there's a 90-degree cut there, and then it comes down on an angle. So the first thing I needed to do was find that angle. So I just used the off-cut of timber and described the angle, and that angle works out to be 12 degrees. So now I know exactly what that angle is. I can keep that as my reference. I come along, let me grab a bit of timber. I come along with my bit of timber, full length, and hold it down to here, and then mark where my 90-degree cut starts and finishes. So it's here. And then I come along and mark that up on my reveal and add the angle on as well. So I know I've got a square cut running to my pencil line here, and then my angle cut there. So then I go ahead and mark up the reveals. They're also cut and a slight back cut and relieved behind, because on the sill here you see we've got this bit of plastic. Once they're all cut, I've gone around and done all of the windows, and I've cut them at the moment to fit just between the two points. So they are oversized at the moment. So you see how they fit in nicely. That's nicely scribed to the bottom. So what Rob's doing is running around putting the heads in, and we want the heads to run over and these to fit between, because this bit of cladding will be attached to this reveal rather than attaching this reveal to this bit of batten, so everything can move in one. So now I've got my reveals cut. I'm going to go around with a block. This is just an offcut I had of the reveal material. So I'm just going to run this in the top, where the top reveal is going to be, and with a really sharp pencil, just mark there. And then I can take that to the saw and chop it. I'm going to chop just a bit this side of the line so I know it's going to jam in and fit really, really nice and tight. I was just creeping up to the line just to make sure I got it right. I don't want to cut it wrong and then have to do the whole thing again. So when Rob gets and runs in with the tops, I can run in with the sides, and they can all fit together nicely. That, once that's in there, will just ping into place nicely, nice and tight. Job's a good one.
So Ed's prepared all the sides and I've put the first head through. Now the next job is actually start fixing the cladding. I'm going to be starting with a piece right in the middle, and you'll see that there's a flex there, a cable, which is for some lighting right here, and that comes out in the middle. So the very first thing I'll do is drill a hole in the center of this piece of cladding, right where it is. I'll mark exactly where that goes. We'll attach that one, and then we're going to work out to the sides of the reveals. And all I'm going to be doing is using my rod to make sure that we stay exactly on track. But periodically I'm going to be checking the measurement from this reveal here and that reveal there to the sides of the cladding to make sure it's equal, and that's the most important thing. So I'm just going to get on and do that. It won't take me very long, and see a bit of a transformation of this structure. Let's pop a hole through there for that bit, that cable. Right in the middle and right in the middle, because that's effectively what we're working to. Then I'm going to put that bit of cladding up, so I'm going to mark a centre line and I'm going to stick that straight the way up. Now what I've got here is there's our 15-degree cut. If I just climb up there and hold that and show you what the relationship is with the reveal, let's just take it here and see if Ed can get that. It's a bit tricky to capture that, but if you can imagine that where the reveal comes through flat, we're going to be exactly with the bottom there. So I've got the first of the cladding up, and as I said, I started in the middle. I wanted to be exactly symmetrical either side. What I've got going on that side needs to be exactly the same as that side. We've taken a lot of care whilst we've been building this building to make sure everything was absolutely perfect. Even when the window fitters came, I just oversaw the exact position in the aperture just so I could make sure I didn't have 10 mil more one side than the other, because it makes all the difference, especially with a beautifully machined cladding like this, which is prepared effectively. So it wants to be nice and true as much as possible. So it was the first one up, and then we started working outwards, and all the time I'm checking them that they're nice and plumb. I'm using the spirit level and also measuring back. So every now and then I will measure back from these reveals, which I've set up exactly nice and true, and keep checking, and that's what we've done. Now it's the time where we're going to take the first full lengths, which get cut round and form these reveals. Ed's already made all of the pieces of the reveals that go on the inside here. They're all ready to go. All we've got to do is fix them in. Now to mark this, I'm taking a piece of cladding, an offcut. And I'm offering it in there, and I'm going to mark exactly where the reveals are. And that gives me the pieces that I need to cut out of these. I'll just show you in situ, it might be a bit easier. So taking a piece of cladding, pop it in, taking my reveal section, offering it on here, you can see that I've marked exactly where it is. Okay? And that is what I need to make. So I'm effectively cutting off this bit. All right? So this will have one whole length. So let's say this is the piece I'm going to use. I'm going to be cutting it obviously in line with here at 15 degrees. Then I'm going to be ripping it all the way down so it covers up the reveal and it's in one piece. And the other side will look exactly the same size. We've checked it and they're both exactly the same. We'll get them made, we'll get them fitted, and we'll show you what that looks like. So these are the bits that I'm going to take to the saw. And we're effectively cutting out that from one side and this from the other side, which forms the front pieces or the reveals. And what that ends up with is the face that we see on both of them wants to be as close to exactly the same as possible. We've got about 61 there, and we've got about 61 there. So I'm pretty happy with that. So effectively what we're going to go and take out on the saw, if I just hold that there, mark that a bit more clear for you. We're taking all of this out here. And the same there. And that will form the first two, and then it's fairly straightforward after that. These are the hardest bits on a job like this. So what I've got, before I machine the actual bits, I've got a little mock-up of each side. So this is the one that's going to go in that side, and that's the one that's going to go in that side. And the face of what we're going to see is exactly the same, which is what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so once the reveal comes in, once this bit gets its bit of timber returning back that way, they look exactly the same. I'll just show you what that looks like in situ. Starting with this side. That's going to be there, just like that. And the same on this side, all right? And it all goes together absolutely beautifully. Put the rips in, and now I'm going to bring the shoulder across. This represents the top piece of cladding. So I'm just going to clamp a section on. I'm going to offer it onto where our line is effectively, so the 15-degree cut there. I'm going to stick a clamp underneath it, nice and flat. Use the bottom of the clamp to sort of keep it nice and true, if you like. And then I'm going to use my handsaw and run and follow that line. Just to set my cut at 15 degrees. I can't get that on the chop saw because I can't take it up to the shoulder there. I'm just going to run that along. Obviously finish the cut off here. Take this off for now. And then we'll clean that out with a chisel and finish it off. Let me show you how this works. So that's basically the piece that's going to go in next. So I'll pop this bit here. I've got Ed's reveal here. This is the reveal Ed cut earlier, so I'm just going to pinch this in. There. Now what I need to do is just slot this in, this piece of cladding, line it through with the cut above, and that is basically it. So you can see it's a full piece. We've just relieved it round. We've put the 15-degree cut in line with that cut. We've got this to cover the thickness of the reveal. and it looks absolutely sweet. What I also like about it as well, it's quite a fluke here, but if you look at this distance from there to there, it's roughly the same width as a piece of cladding, so the eye looks at it as a solid lump, and I really like that as well. That's just a bit of luck, and it's not far off a similar section size there to there. Now that's not something I planned, that's just something how it happened, but that's all due to using the rod, setting it all out. You've got much more of a chance of actually making something look nice as well. So I've just got to take a small notch round the corner of the sill and then carry on. So that's one of the most complicated bits out of the way. I've got the other side to finish, and then it's just easy stuff, then the straight stuff. Have all the cladding across the top, and I've also got my reveals in, and I'm starting to put all the floorboards in now to get out to the corners. Now what you'll notice is that I'm working on both sides, so I'm putting 5 on each side, and then I'm checking the measurement to the corner to make sure that we're exactly right, because you can open up a millimetre or so if you need to. And I'm also checking that they remain plumb as well, because it's important that you don't just stack these together and you end up out of plumb, okay? So you need to do that, and we're also obviously keeping them level at the bottom. That's the reveal finished. So we've got 2 reveals, one either side, which is exactly the same size. It just looks really neat. And they're cut around the sills here. You can see that how the relationship is there, and effectively the cladding comes just down towards the drip of the sill. So once I've got all of these next floorboards up towards the corner, I'll leave the corner one out for now, and then I'll start on this elevation. And on this elevation, I am going to start in the middle of this tall window, so my reveals are exactly the same, and then I'm going to run out to the corner with floorboards and form a corner. It's looking super nice. It's the it's this final bit of the job which I really like. It's a shame about my hardcore pile here. Would have been nice if that wasn't in the way, because it's been a bit tricky getting access to some of this. But there you go, that's life, that's building. Anyway, I'm going to crack on and get a little bit more done. We're doing really well with the cladding, and because we've prepared everything, it's just a matter of banging them up on the wall effectively. They're all cut to length. We started in the centre of this window with our cladding above to make sure that our 2 rips would be exactly the same either side. So that's the face size from there to there, so they match, all right? It's really important. Now we're going to work out to the corner, and we're going to come this way. Now we have got a corner section that we can use over the joint, but what we're going to do is mitre it and glue it and make a solid section. Now in this instance I can't make it up first and put it together, because I can't actually clip it in, so I've got to make it up and fix it together in situ. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky, but we can manage it. But this is a tip I want to tell you about how to fix your cladding boards. You can do them individually, or what we like to do is work with a couple at once, if you like. So what we do is we'll take a cladding board, we'll look down it, and we'll make sure it's fairly straight. So some of them have got a bit of a bow in them or a bend in them, and that can be quite difficult to push together, because what that means is when you push it together, it clamps itself up too tight, okay? And remember, we need the expansion. So what we do, this is a good example, because it fits nice and straight. We push it in, we get the cuts to line up at the bottom here. We've got our expansion line, and then we just pop 1 pin in it, 1 pin like that, and then we'll put another one up. And we can put about 2 or 3 up. I like to put 2 or 3 up, providing they're not too bendy. And then using the level, the 8-foot level, is actually just check them for plumb. And here we go. And then I take my level on this one, and we check that we're nice and true, straight, plumb, and then we fix them up. And that's basically a really nice way of doing it and making sure you travel across. And then equally, keep checking your measurements to your corners as you're getting close. Make sure everything's running nice and true. All right, so we've got 1433 there and 1433 here, so it's looking good. And that just makes it a lot easier. So the next job for us is literally put all the full ones through, get up to this window, go above and below, and we're there. So the cladding we've bought towards the corner on both sides. Now, what we're going to do on the corner is we're going to put a mitered section up, and we've still got the capping if we want to use it. But if the miters glue well, they fix well, and they rub back nicely, then I'd imagine we'll leave it as a miter. That's my preferable method. So basically, it involves putting the next course in and marking it, taking them onto the rip saw and ripping it down. So you do need a rip saw for this. You can do it with a circular saw on a fence, and it would be quite nice, especially if you work off, you know, like the face sides. So the saw's set to 45 degrees, and then we'll simply move the fence in and out to suit the shoulder we need and rip it all through. How's it going, Ed?
Yeah, good, mate.
Just hold that while I get some glue on it.
Yeah.
Just stick one in somewhere there. Put a bit of glue on the other one as well. Yeah, just give it a quick line down the front. I'm going to get my hand underneath it, alright? That's it. I've got it. The top just wants poking,
Yeah.
so the rebate comes together, the groove, and that's it, Ed. Keep a hand to it, and I'll start putting it up. Yeah?
Yep.
This is nice. How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
I've got to rub it up here. Yeah, it's good. It's much harder doing it in situ.
Oh, definitely.
Nice though. So here's a corner for that side. You're going to put this one together first, so you can have a look at it here. Basically, it's a full rip, and I've kept this one round there to have the same face side dimension. So that and that, so it just looks like a solid corner, if you like, when it comes together. So we're going to glue this up, hold it and pin it together, let that go off, and then we'll fix it up as one piece. So that's all we need to do next. Check we've got some pins. This always catches us out. What I'm going to do is change that little section for a full section so it doesn't run out halfway through. Stainless steel, I think I've mentioned that before, but stainless steel is what we use as much as possible with any kind of cladding. That's it, getting that ready. What we need to do is just basically hold them together. In fact, I'll tell you what to do. Take the big one, put the little one underneath, put your hand on there, put it underneath there. And what we'll do is we'll just take it towards the edge and we'll get it started at both ends, and then, so you've got the mitered...
Yeah, I've got the 15 degree as well.
Yeah, you keep the 15 degree right there. I'll come and stick a pin in. That's nice. And then what we'll do is we'll work our way up and down it. Yeah. Let's slide down a bit there. That's it there. That's it there. So I'll get the very far end. And then we'll get it straight in between. Let's have a look at that. Now, take your very end and turn it over gently. That's it, like that. That's it. That's it. Just so we can pull it up and keep it exactly like that, yeah? That's a nice job, isn't it? Straight off the saw as well. No messing around.
Bit of scratch on it, a big poison.
Yeah, we're going to let that go off. That's the beauty of these 18 gauge pins. They're very easy to manage, aren't they?
Yeah.
We'll let that go off a minute.
Nice.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, that's satisfying, isn't it? Nice solid looking piece of timber. Look, show me that to the camera there. So that's the 15 degree cut on the bottom coming around the corner. If you lap these, which you could do, you could lay one over the others like the reveals. Then you actually see the edge of one of the cuts, so that's why the miter's much better. But when you miter something and put it together, it automatically wants to go dead straight as well if you drop your end down a bit, Ed. Look how straight that looks. Yeah, we're going to stick that inside so the glue goes off a bit quicker. Well, we've made steady progress on the cladding, and we've got all the what I'd call the simple stuff done. We've got that mitered corner. This is the one we had to do in situ there. And that's the hardest way to do it, because we had to work from that skinny window reveal into this corner, and obviously we worked from the middle of this building out. So on the other end, where I've got the corner, I was able to make that up, glue it all together, so it's an absolute dream to put on. And I've got exactly the same at the other end here. I've just clipped it in. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Oh, and incidentally, this is the corner cover fillet that we sort of get as a standard piece, if you like. It's a rebated section. It's quite thin. It doesn't add a lot to the profile, and it would cover the corner like this, and it looks really nice. But what we've done is we've done a full-on miter here to make it look like a solid corner. But what I've said to our customer is the fact that we'll let this go a couple of seasons, and if the expansion and contraction in the cladding, which it does do, opens up the miter at all, even though it's glued really well and pinned, then we can always put those over. So we'll put those strips out of the way in the garage. We'll tuck them up on the ceiling, tie them up nice and straight, and you can use them in the future. So we've also gone all the way down here, under the window, round the extractor vent, again, round the outlet at the top there. And this is the window where we were governed by whatever happened at the reveal, okay? So we started this one as it was a bit more dominating, with cladding centrally above it, and that gave us exactly the same, let me stand in between it, exactly the same sort of size reveals on either side, which was really, really quite nice, okay? Then we worked away with the cladding, and then we got left with what we got left with, okay? Which was that detail on that side and that detail on that side. So this is the corner I've clipped in. I'll just unclip it. I've just literally put it in dry. So it's 2 bits of cladding, and I was able to make whatever the face was governed by this last board. I made the return exactly the same, so it looks like an equal piece. And so that will just clip in here, put it in, slide it up to where it goes, and the next job is simply pin that in, of course, and then I can clad then I can clad this whole side. Oh, incidentally, you'll see, sometimes you see me using these. These are really handy because where you get a piece of cladding and you're working on your own like I am today, I can put the cladding in and pop a clip on it, and that will hold it while I plumb it up, check it, make sure the bottom's in the right position, you know, all lining through. So that's a good, useful little tool. It's just a little Bessie clamp. I think they call this an XM5. Okay, so it opens, the throat opens 50mm. So my next job is work from here into the wall with a scribe, round the top of this here, and then the same on the other side, and that's pretty much it. That'll be the cladding complete. Get it nice and plumb, and that is absolutely beautiful. Another one here. Okay. What I had to do there is work out exactly how we were going to get the existing barge boards that come down, which are also a cladding section, and work with our new cladding. So the ideal scenario is, what I did is I screwed a section up, then using the multi-tool, I cut out the area of barge board to enable me to slot this full-length piece of cladding behind. So you can spend a lot of time on these little fiddly bits, but they do look great. So the next job will be I've got 2 more full and a scribe, do all those together because they also need to be clipped in as one. Well, I'm really pleased to say that I've got nearly all of the cladding on this building now, all the way around, including that little reveal that you saw, or that return that you just seen, which is about 9 boards that cut into the brickwork underneath the sloping soffit and against the barge boards, where we had to take a little bit of the barge boards out, ease in a nice little scribe, which was scribed to the back of the barge boards effectively. And the way that the tongues and the grooves go together, we need to be able to push it in and pull it back. And then when I tackled the last 3 boards underneath that sloping soffit, we actually had to put those in together. So I clipped them together, I cut them all, 1, 2 and 3 sort of individually, to scribe them to the top, keep them exactly right at the bottom with that 15-degree cut. Clip them all together and then ease them in. It wasn't actually a scribe on the end there because fortunately the boards were a full board and I just had to relieve the end of the tongue to get them in. But I did have to make a really thin strip to mimic the face of the next board if it was starting, and that really did look quite nice. So all that involved was taking off a 15mm strip off a length of cladding and fixing it all the way through carefully. But it really looks nice and consistent, and luckily enough the wall around that side was much more plumb than the one behind me. So all that's left for me to do is this section here behind me. I've also got a cap flap to go into the bottom of it as well, which I'll be cutting all the way through the fabric of the timber frame and putting a cap flap in. But this particular wall behind me is really out of plumb. It's around about 25mm out of plumb. So it's a little bit more interesting, and I've got to do a scribe there. I'm going to be scribing up against the brickwork, round the cladding up there, and that's it. I've got my corner ready. I'm going to put that on now. That obviously locks into there and work away. So that's all I have left to do. The weather is absolutely beautiful. Was really cold at this current point in time. It was -6, and where we are in the south of England, that is a rarity. So anyway, it's not anymore. It's beautiful. The sun's picked up, and you know, put your hand on this cladding. Oh, it feels really warm. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up here, and yes, in the background you see I've finished into the wall, and I've built a small cat ladder for the cats here. So if you want to have a little look at how I did the scribe here and some of the footage of the cat ladder, that'll be in another video. But for now, thank you for joining me on my cladding series. Thank you for watching all of the episodes through. And if you're interested in cladding, make sure you click the links in the descriptions of this video and the previous ones, where there's actually a link to my supplier who can provide or supply you with this material as well. Thermowood is a great material. It's so durable, easy to fit, and it's good value as well. Thanks for watching. Catch you again soon.